Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. Today in Ring of Honor, well, there's some very interesting surprises we did not expect, especially for certain teams or factions you wouldn't imagine. So we will see what happens towards that. And of course, build up for some championship matches and whatnot. And then we move on with our last review, which is TNA. As you know, we're on the road to Genesis. A lot of things could happen, but however, in this particular day, Steve Macklin he's cashing in his rematch consensual for the TNA International title against Stack. So we will see what happens. And then, of course, JDC will have his final hoorah with the system, taking on, of course, Cedric Alexander, Leon Slater, and the Hardys. But of course, we do have the contract signing for the TNA World Title at of course the following week. As you know, next week they'll be making their debut at the AMC, so that's going to be a lot of interesting things taking place. And then, of course, as always, we'll wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates, giving you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is the channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world, pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get to it. So let's begin with Ring of Honor. All right, Ring of Honor. So we opened up with Aaron Solo versus Ace Austin. Now, of course, many of you know that Ace Austin is a member of the Bang Bang Gang. We hardly see him in AEW, but I'm sure we will see him mostly somewhere down the line. But however, of course, being in Ring of Honor will help him showcase just a little bit. But of course, many of us would think that Ace Austin would have picked up the win, even though because he's very familiarized from his work with TNA, now in AEW, that plays it out. And he did. So he defeated Aaron Solo by applying the fold. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, of course, Athena, as you probably can guess, well, she is, of course, as you know, can brag all she wants that she is the most dominant force in the AEW, in the Ring of Honor women's division. But however, the one thing that kind of puts her in a position to complain is the fact that she was unable to obtain the one title she feels that she has to have, which is the AEW Women's World Title. So even though she has failed on multiple occasions to obtain it, well, I'm sure 2026 will most likely be her time. But sooner or later she has to drop the Ring of Honor Women's World Titles. I mean, she's already like what, almost 1100 days as the champion or somewhat, but we'll see. Now, our next match, we have the Crew, who we haven't seen for quite some time, Action Andretti and Leo Rush, but what we did not expect who was joining them, and that is, of course, Lacey Lane. Many of you may remember her from NXT and main roster as Kaden Carter. Kaden Carter, part of Katana, um, Chance and her, they were teaming up in WWE. Well, I did not expect her to be in it, but it was interesting. But their opponents, of course, is Will Alday and Jay Alexander. Now, obviously, for many of us who watch Ring of Honor, you probably would have assumed already that this match was going to the Crew, and that's exactly what happened. They applied a double team onto Will Alday, but it was Leo Rush who was the legal man that pinned all day, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now we did see an interview with Christopher Daniels, so he decided to get down in business and inform the entire fan base that Layla Gray is hurt, that she's gonna be out of action. But however, before she left, she and Christopher Daniels talking about adding more members to the name, of course, and we did not anticipate who this one is, because apparently, if you guys remember, there was this person actually faced her, and somehow her name has been added, and now she's a member of Skyflight, and that is, of course, Zeta Steel. So it's very interesting that now she's in it. So basically, Layla Gray may be out to recover, but Zeta Steel will definitely try to make a name for herself. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, she teams up, of course, with Dante Darius to be in a mixed tag match. Um, they take on Shane Taylor Promotions members Trish Adora and Lee Moriarty. So I thought it was a very fantastic match. But one thing that was surprising was the fact that Zeta Steel apply a destroyer onto Lee Moriarty. I thought that was beautifully. And there was some great moments, but of course, someone decided to cause a distraction, and that is, of course, moron Shane Taylor to get involved. This allowed for the distraction onto Zeta Steel, and allowing Trish Adora to, of course, apply the lariat on her, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. So I'm sure we're probably going to see Skyflight and Chains of Promotions get on each other's back. So we'll see where that goes. Now, our next match, we have Billy Starks and Diamante. Of course, Athena's minions. They take on Shay Carmichael and Reza Clark. Nothing too special, but I'm sure that Billy Starks and Diamante are determined to win some gold for, of course, Athena and the minion world. And obviously, we know that Billy Starks probably would want the ROH women's pure title, and possibly Diamante the women's world television title. So that's something we can see. But it was Diamante, on the other hand, who picked up the win on Carmichael, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have these guys named Demo Diamond, Dillion Caven, and Rachel Ellering taking on, of course, the premier athletes. Stony Denali, Tony Nese, Arya Davari, and that Weasel, who's always by their side, of course, Mark Sterling. But however, mostly we have been seeing Denali picking up the wins for her team. But in this case, it wasn't her. It was Tony Nese that picked up the win onto Caven. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have the Frat House, consistent of Preston Vance, Cole Carter, and Griff Garrison taking on the Outrunners and Dalton Castle. Obviously, we have been seeing Dalton Castle and the Outrunners becoming a great trios team, and I'm sure that they're making their way straight to the six-man world team belts, and that's something I'm sure we definitely could see with them. But they were able to pick up the win onto Carter when they applied, Dalton Castle applied the Bangarang, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, over. Now, Leslie here, of course, had a little chit chat with Taya Valkyrie and Johnny TV, talking about, of course, how, certain things, for example, Taya Valkyrie wants the women's television title, which is something she felt that she deserved. But however, Red Velvet heard everything, so she tells her, "I'll give you a shot at a proving ground match." So of course, I'm sure Tell Valkyrie was okay with that. But speaking of course, she decided to head all the way to the ring to support her team, which is the MXM Collection, while she and Johnny TV are on ringside, taking on, of course, the legendary Von Erichs, Ross, and Marshall. Now, of course, obviously, it's no secret that Taya and Johnny TV would get involved, but unfortunately, that didn't do any good for them because in the end, the Von Erichs applied the Iron Claw, well, mostly Ross Marshall, onto Mansoor, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have, of course, this guy named Kieran Gray taking on Sammy Guevara. I'm sure Sammy is in a frustration mode because he is determined to reach the top, and he did defeat Gray, and just like that, with the GTS, 1, 2, 3, done, or should I say the GTH, which is go to hell. So yeah, so that's what happens from there. Now, our main event, we have Swirl, Blake Christian, and Lee Johnson, along with Jay Lethal, taking on Adam Priest and Tommy Billington. Of course, I'm sure these guys are shocked and disappointed and angry at the fact what Jay Lethal did. It's still unclear exactly what possessed Jay Lethal to make the choice to hang out with Swirl, because we know that Blake Christian has been aiming for the ROH world title for months, and now he feels that he may have the opportunity. I mean, there was great moments where we thought that Tommy Billington and Adam Priest could have won, but thanks to Jay Lethal's interference, that was the cause of it. But in the end, of course, it was the choke zero onto Tommy Billington by Blake Christian, and just like that, Billington had no choice but to tap out. And of course, we did see a beatdown on both Priest and Billington. So sooner or later, something is going to happen. We know that Blake Christian will love nothing more to get his hands on the ROH World title. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But as of right now, we're done with ROH. Let's move on with TNA. Okay, TNA, as you know, 1 week away from their debut at the AMC channel, but 2 weeks, but of course, a week and a half away from, of course, Genesis. Now, it opened up with the Hardys making their way to the ring to do a little promo here. As you probably know, we need to address the elephant in the room, which, of course, they want to have a match against the Righteous, but the Righteous, as you know, are avoiding it. They're saying, "We're trying to help you, man," but of course, they're not buying their cryptic BS for 1 minute. That exactly is what they don't want. But sooner or later, we will see them. And of course, the Righteous has some things to say to them, but one way or the other, those teams have to collide. So it's still unclear when or where. So stay tuned for that. Now, we did see an interview with Steve Macklin. As you probably know, he announced that he has cashed in his consensual rematch clause for the TNA International title that was taken from him by Stax during, of course, Final Resolution. And then, of course, someone from his past just showed up, had some things to say, and that is, of course, the world class maniac Eric Young. So you probably can guess what that was about. So we'll see where that leads us. Now, our first match, we have Harley Hudson taking on, of course, Danny Luna, who, as you all know, is the number 1 contender to face Li Ying Li for the TNA Knockouts World title. And I'm sure she's directly to send a message to her, which she did when she applied the lunar landing on Hudson, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, of course, Mila Grace went to check up on her until she was viciously attacked from behind by Danny Luna. And of course, Li Yingling went up to even the score, but of course she ran. Then she checked up on, of course, both girls, but apparently Danny Luna decided, you know what, I'm going to send you a message because that belt is coming home with me, and there's nothing you can do about that. But sooner or later, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Now, Mara Sade was in fact minding her own business until she was abruptly interrupted by Ryan Menneth. Of course, he is Nick Mannett's brother. The end. Yeah, him. Decided to talk about certain things about like bygones be bygones, certain things like that. But unfortunately, things didn't go according to plan because Super kick party. Yep. Basically, he got a super kick once again by Marshall. It should be embarrassing right now for him, but we'll see what happens from there. Now, we did see the members of the Order 4, Tasha Steeles, Mustafa Ali, and of course the Dumb Hands, looking for Agent Zero, who they haven't seen for quite some time. While they were discussing that, we did see Elijah showing up, and there was a section where you saw Agent Zero was taken out. So most likely you can see that Elijah got a bit of a measure of payback for what happened last time. So we'll see where that leads. Now, as you know, the Elegance brands, the Chihuahua, along with Ash, Heather, and M, are looking for Mr. Elegance, so they have no idea. They found this guy who was working there, and they're like, I mean, for the audience, you say, "You for real? You really want to turn him as Mr. Elegance?" So we'll see where that leads from there. We know it wouldn't be. It would probably be interesting to see. Now, of course, the Order 4 make their way to the ring to discuss certain things, especially one considering about the horse. Yes, he's trying to say that he's campaigning that they certain changes have to act like they act like this is a political thing. And then, of course, we did see Elijah with the horse again, and then he went to get his little pound of flesh against the Order 4 until they were chased once again by Elijah with the horse. We did see them making their way outside, and it was just hilarious, like a very interesting vignette where they had to run from the horse, you know. So nothing compared like what we saw with Hangman and Sammy Guevara a couple years ago during the Jacksonville days. So that is really fun to enjoy. So I really enjoyed that. So yeah. Now, our next match is the TNA International title. Steve Macklin gets his rematch against, of course, Stacks to reclaim it. Now, of course, as you probably know, the NXT Outlaws, most specifically Tyson DuPont, Tyreek Igwe, um, Lexus King, and I forgot who else were gonna get involved in this. But however, they got, of course, ejected from ringside thanks to being caught with the cookie jar, and just like that, they were told to leave. Now, you would have assumed that because of this, this would have been a perfect opportunity for Steve Macklin to reclaim the TNA International belt. No, Ariana Grace showed up out of nowhere and decided to eye gouge Steve Macklin, and of course it resulted into a disqualification match. And of course the Outlaws show up to give a little beatdown. So obviously that was the real trending right there. Now our main event was in fact the System, Eddie Edwards, JDC, Miles Bourne, and Moose taking on Cedric Alexander, Leon Slater, and the Hardys. So as you all know, this will be the last time JDC will team up with the System because he'll be retiring in Genesis. So that kind of sets it up right there. So obviously many of us would have assumed that the System would have picked up the win. No, Cedric Alexander was the one who picked up the win onto Moose by pinfall, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. Now, we did see a contract signing for the TNA World title for Genesis, being, of course, set up by none other than our Director of Authority, Santino Marella, who's not in the right position due to the fact of what he's going through. But he decided to get this done. We did see Santana. We did see Kazarian. They had some things to say about certain things. But of course, they make reference about their time from AEW, if you probably catch that. But yes. But however, as soon as the contract signing was about to proceed more, we had an unexpected visitor, which is Nick Mennett. Obviously, for those who have forgotten, Nick Mennett was the co-holder of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match with Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian cashed in his. So now he's aiming that this whole match that will happen next week, he might do the same thing. So we will see what happens until then. So stay tuned for that. But as of right now, we're officially done with all reviews. Let's move on with, of course, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin, of course, with upcoming events. First, we have, of course, the GCW updates for all of you for all their upcoming events. As you know, on the 17th of January they'll be in Dallas for Code of the Street. They just announced Shotzi Blackheart will take on what's her name? Oh yeah, Emery Jane in the match. And then, of course, the following day in Wichita, Kansas, on the 18th of January for Crime Wave, two matches have been announced. Effie will take on the Base God, Gringo Loco, and then we have Jordan Oliver taking on Oro, who many of you may remember him as Oro Mensa. And then, of course, as you know, another event has been added to, of course, what is it? For the collective by GCW called the Immortal Clusterfuck. So that's going to happen on the 18th of April, which of course will be on the final day as well in Las Vegas, and that one starts at 10 p.m. So mark your calendars on that. Now, some events have been announced and matches for upcoming Marigold events, and this one was reported by Scott Edwards, who many of you know him from Fightful Select and various other news outlets where he follows the Yoshi Wrestling stuff. This is what he did announce. On January 12th, Marigold will be in Korakuen Hall for Marigold Strongest. Utami Ishida and Miku Anu will take on Mayu Iwatani and Victoria Yuzuki. Then on the 24th for Icon Forever at Korakuen Hall, they'll be the Twin Star Tag Team belts will be on the line. Chiaki and Mitsumatsui will defend them against the winners of the tag tournament, um, Seri Yamaoka and Shino. And then finally on the 30th, on Shinjuku Face, Mayu Itani will defend the Super Fly Championship against Komomo Minami. So basically, they're calling this like Mayu Itani's anniversary matches, so it makes perfect sense. So that's exactly what I've been reading about. Now let's move on. Jersey Championship Wrestling with the Superpower Slam on the 1st of February. They announced that the GCW World Championship will be on the line. Akatsuka will defend it against Bear Bronson. West Coast Pro has announced for the Tokyo Ocean Pro Wrestling has announced for the upcoming Grand Princess 2026 that will happen in March 29th. A very interesting match has been booked. Many of you have already been aware that Konosuke Takeshita and Yuka Sakazaki are married, so they're going to be participating in a mixed or intergender tag match. Now, their opponents have not been announced yet. Hopefully, we'll find out. So that's going to be interesting to do. Now, many of you, if I have any subscribers who are big fans of Marvelous, well, mark your calendars. If you're planning to go to Las Vegas for WrestleMania week just to check out the other promotions, well, Marvelous will be in, of course, in Las Vegas on the 16th of April. So if you're planning to want to go see them, mark your calendar. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for upcoming events. Now, on to some developments. Now, not too long ago, I did report it. Fightful Select reports that of David Finlay's contract it will be expiring very soon, but he's been looking at his options here in the U.S. Well, it seems now he's interested to go to WWE. Now, I know some people are gonna say he'd probably be better off with AEW. Guys, I know that's the case, but to me, I've always believed that he might go with WWE. If you guys don't know why, if you guys are not familiarized with David Finlay or his family, you should know that his father, David Finlay, or as he known in the wrestling world as Fit Finlay, works with WWE in the backstage area. He also was a trainer. And not to mention, David Finlay's brother, Uriah Connor, is also over there. So obviously, to me, he's going to go where his family is well recognized. So that kind of sets it up right there. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, also, it was reported by Mike Johnson of PW Insider Elite that Adam Copeland is currently announced the title of his memoir that will be released on October of this year, called The Education of Adam Copeland. Catchy title, so I have to say it's real nice to hear that. Now, finally, of course, our last development here, Mustafa Ali just talked to Denise Salcido. Many of you know her. She does interviews with wrestlers. And he just revealed that he just re-signed with TNA. So he will be continuing with them once again. And he had something to say regarding about that. So this is what he put out. Just a few days ago, I officially re-signed with TNA. TNA Mustafa Ali um, AMC, yeah, breaking news. Have resigned, and I'm very, very happy with that. So it seems that he's decided to stay. Now we do know that there was been talk that some TNA talents will be their contracts will be up. So looks like it's gonna happen. So yeah, so that's pretty much it what we have for our news update. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, well, normally SmackDown happens, and I don't normally review SmackDown at all. I'm sure some of you probably would want that, but you know, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that actually review that. But anyway, I normally put something else. But we'll see how things will roll from there. But as of right now, we'll end things here and see what happens on the next episode. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye and have a nice day. Bang.